Aloha, welcome to the Libertarian Party of Hawaii Executive Committee meeting. It is 7:22 on Monday, August 3rd, 2026. We are calling the meeting to order. A little late. We were just having a nice discussion about things in general. And we would love to see you here. Feel free to reach out to us or check out our newsletter to get access and come join us. On the roll call, Madam Secretary, if you could call the roll.
Celina Monge.
Here.
Nicholas Zehr.
Here.
I am Abbra Green also here, and Chairman Martin.
Present. And not with us today is Mr. Skoland. He is he is excused. Cool. Minutes from June 24th, 2026, plus 3 email motions that passed in the interim period from the last meeting. Motion to join amicus unanimously approved. On July 11th, 2026, motion for LPHI to purchase a national sustaining membership unanimously approved July 20th, 2026. Motion to support LPHI candidates with $1,000 each. 2 abstentions. Motion passed on July 8th, 2026. Fred Fogel responded that he does not take any campaign donations, but thanked us for the offer. And I will note for the record also that I am not at this time yet receiving any donations either. But I do appreciate the offer, and I might take you up on it later when I am ready to spend. I don't want to foreclose that. You don't have to actually add that to the minutes. It can just be on the video record. Cool. Sorry about that. All right. Is there any discussion on the minutes or suggested amendments? Going once, going twice. All right, we'll call the question. Is there any objection to the minutes as presented in the motions? Hearing none, passes without objection. And we'll move on to the agenda. Is there any discussion, amendments on the agenda? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Any objection to the agenda? Passes without objection. All right, moving on to reports. We have been busy, and I've been doing some real work in trying to change the way that we do fundraising and the way that we interact with our members. And so there are some big improvements that we are planning and some upgrades. Some things I will be looking at doing and I'm not sure how much of this I'll need to seek authorization for. I don't have final itemized costs on everything yet. But I'd like to upgrade our email systems or look at doing so that we can have at LPHI, if Google will provide that to us, or at Libertarian Hawaii would be nice for our Gmail handles. We could also, there's a few different ways that we could do that, but I think that would be good. It's probably time. Um, there are a few other little like web presence upgrades that I'd like to consider. And there's definitely some big state level stuff that I'm interested in doing with our CRM, and really imposing a kind of a more consistent and detailed way of kind of cataloging our data. There's some things that we're not doing right now that if we did them, we could be really, really successful. And it'll help. It'll make it easier for us to, work with each other on things like calling through our donor lists and making sure that we are, effectively making the asks that we need to make. So there are, some good stuff like that I'm going to be trying to implement in kind of the coming months as we move along. Elections are in full swing. We have candidates that are largely paper. I could pour money into the district, but I'll be honest, I don't think that that's going to. If I do that, it ought to wait till, you know, relatively late in the race. Chris Todd is interesting. I don't know if you guys know, but we'll share some stuff with you. And I don't want to discuss too much strategy, but like we do have a focus on that. We are looking at what leverage we can make and what gains we can make and what we can do for ballot access during this time. But we're also like my main focus is on party building and on building infrastructure. So again, big developments there, big movements towards fundraising and towards kind of getting an institutional memory going for the LPHI. And that is pretty much the relevant report. Is there any questions or anything that you guys would like to hear me address before I hand the floor over?
I will say,
Cool.
I think you mentioned the email system connected to our website. I think the tier that we are currently paying for right now allows for at least one of those accounts. But you have to be the owner to do so.
Thank you. Noted. Anyone else? All right, moving on, Mr. Treasurer, you have the floor.
All right, aloha. So we saw in this past period since previous meeting, I didn't do any updates from last week whenever we were going to hold this meeting, but we saw a good increase from donations impacting our CSC account, FBC account staying solid. PayPal, an additional about $18 to the amount that you see. Overall, we've had an increase of about $2,000, largely due to the July Liberty campaign that we had for donors. So that was awesome. Shout outs that we had for that include Don Johnston, who did the full 1,776. Ken Skolin did
I'm gonna
176.
hold on just a second because
Oh.
I will say Don Johnston is given approval for public disclosure on this, but I would
Thanks.
everyone else before you list names.
Okay, fair enough. But we had a good donor push with that. For recent expenses, our Wix is our primary general expense that we're seeing right now. We'll note for Libertarian Party, that was one that was recently authorized by email ballot. So that showed up in the report. For reporting, CSC and FEC, both of those reporting were completed on time, so we're good to go there. Finally, tracking, as said earlier, Fred Folko not taking donations at this time. Austin, tracking, you said you're not. Please, if there's anything I can do to help get you online for that, more than happy to help. And also tracking upcoming fundraising initiatives, potentially with JFCs, which would love to start working with, improving our infrastructure for that to increase funds. Oh, that concludes the report.
Thank you. You know, I would love to talk to you about that. I could definitely use somebody to help me on that side. We'd have to open a bank account. All right, cool. Thank you. Moving forward, any questions for Mr. Zehr? Going once, going twice. All right, and we're moving on. Next is the motion, and I'm bringing this one. I could pass the gavel if anybody wants me to. To approve the minutes for the final meeting of the Bylaws and Platform Committee. They made their presentation and their minutes, and we are kind of approving their procedure in that committee. Is there a second?
A second.
All right. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll move us to call the question. Is there any objection? Any objection to the motion as presented? In minutes of the Bylaws and Platform Committee. Final meeting. Hearing none, passes without objection. The next item of business is the discussion on special convention, and we were briefly discussing some of this before the meeting and feeling out people's availabilities. And we are looking at setting everything up on time, and just kind of feeling out when the best weekend is. We were shooting between the very last weekend of August into September. Availability for venues is really down in the month of August, and the people that we normally work with have not been available. So we'll save some money and get a better product if we go ahead and set for September. But we had a discussion on, how this is supposed to be. I think the main thing is that we need to set it by this month. And so that was kind of the discussion that we were having beforehand. And when we were reaching out to venues and trying to get things set, it is not looking very favorable for anything before the last weekend or of August, and even really that weekend too. September is looking a lot better. So that's what we are looking at. As far as venue, we are definitely looking to hold it on Big Island, preferably at the Hilo Hawaiian again if we can. So they've been really, really slow actually on their booking service, with one of their main people being out of town around this time. So hopefully that will resolve itself shortly and we'll be able to get everything moving forward. But that's kind of just a status report on where we're at. Um, I have like menus and stuff I can share for like the catering. Another option is we could reserve an event space, um, and then do our own catering. But I think the hotel's smart, especially for people who are flying in. It gives them an option to stay and be comfortable and all of that. So it's a better experience, in my opinion, even though it costs slightly more. Uh, I feel like the food was pretty good last time. I kind of feel like there could be a little more of it. And I feel like we could do with a slightly bigger room. Some of the other bigger rooms were pretty nice, and their actual hard cost on the room is really low at the Hilo Hawaiian. It's the food and beverage where they're making their money on this stuff. So, um, yeah, that's kind of just the way that I'm looking at it. We want to also give ourselves enough time to make sure that everybody, has the ability to clear their schedules and make it. So yeah, I'll stop talking and dominating the floor. I'll just kind of open it up for free form discussion. Anybody who wants to weigh in on this, please feel free.
You were saying you wanted a bigger room?
Yeah, I think it would be fun. Like our online
Like
presence is
still the last room.
what?
I feel like we still had a lot of room left over from the last one we used.
I do like we did have room and it made it possible to be able to feel like you were, able to communicate with everybody. Where if you're in a big room and there's fewer people and everyone's kind of spread out, you don't have that same connection.
That's fair. That's very fair. Okay, well then I'll just disclose my full secret motivation. I wanted the picture windows that are by the ocean so that when we take photos, it's like really awesome.
We could also push everybody outside for photos.
No, that's
I
not
like
as
that.
fun. It'd be great if during like the candid photos during the convention, you have like a picture window, ocean, quintessentially Big Island background. But I'm being frivolous. I'm sorry. I will relent. Your guys' reason is
Yeah,
persuasive.
I like Celina and Abra's point. Also with that, especially with the notice and reasonable expectation, unless we truly think that we're going to have a larger group, which would be nice if we do. Totally would love that. But if it's about the same, I think the room size we had was great. It was close without being too intimate, but good, good conversation and discussion. I'd say food wise, um, I think we had a lot of leftovers on the last one. I don't know if it's necessarily beneficial to expand that. Just my thoughts.
I agree. I think there was only 2 platters that were completely gone. Most of them still had like half left.
I wish there was like more vegetarian options, or they're just like everything kind of had meat in it.
Good to know. Okay.
But I mean, I
Good
did
point.
like the cheese and I think there was like cheese and crackers and some fruit, so like that was good.
I will note that. I like veggies too.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. And seriously, guys, whatever food, like if you want food, I'm gonna try to do some more serious fundraising on this kind of thing. And I want to treat this is a really good opportunity for fundraising. I want to see if I can get people to fly out. I want to see if we can get, like, and I'm not talking about people to vote. I want something to like attract people that we can use in order to kind of pump the convention. Something low cost that we can do on the same day, whether it's like, I mean, it could be something like a candidate debate for our local candidates. It could be something more, policy focused. Maybe we have a guest speaker. And it doesn't have to be like large scale event. It can be intimate, but it would be nice if we had something that was, content worthy and, that could attract some people. I think if we
So
scale it right, this is like anything that we do is this is an exclusive place, right? This is a VIP affiliate. And,
this
if go ahead.
No, so you mean like targeting, like, do you have like a list already you have in mind and like targeting, like sending out invitations, like personalized invitations to specific, um,
Why, yes,
persons?
as a matter of fact, I do.
Oh, that's
Um,
good.
and so balancing this would be like I have a very healthy donor list nowadays. And that is something that is kind of a cool new development. We can invite we can invite kind of target people who are going to want to be here and will coincide with things that we're fighting for or doing. So like on national level issues and on state level issues, there's really good opportunities for us. And I think like it doesn't have to even just be, sorry, I'm kind of just on the cuff here, or off the cuff. Um, again, like a good speaker, a couple of good speakers. Anybody who does speaking engagements will love an excuse to come out to Hawaii if we're willing to pay their travel,
One
right? So if
thing,
there's
one thing I will say about that is that we would probably need to book for longer than what I've been looking at. I've been going for 5 to 6 hours. But given like the content of this meeting, we are definitely going to use that. It's very likely anyway that we will use up that time. Um, I think we can add entertainment stuff like speakers, just not to the agenda itself. So we could make that happen, but I think that would add an hour or two to our venue purchase.
Ooh, do you need
Yep.
flowers?
Flowers are cool.
Who
I
does
think we should have flowers.
flowers? No.
No, like I always when we do those those frontline doctor events and stuff, I always bring like the greenery for the stage and like the flowers and stuff.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, Celina, you have some really good expertise on this. I'm wondering how much I can rope you into helping us plan this thing. And just what we can do. Because I think like a donor focus event where it's like something that's really relevant to them that they care about, but build as a small group engagement, you know, a dinner, a gala, it could be something kind of fancy if we wanted it to be. Um, the real trick of this would be if we could somehow balance a really tight budget for that. But it brings up the excuse for a bigger room, um, that we could kind of set up with, two chambers, one for like, a bigger event space where donors and whatnot may attend, and then a business space, and just kind of set up the AV and the stuff like that, accordingly. Because the business, if we can deprioritize, like really, like we've all had time to talk about the bylaws. We've built in the safeguards. We've done a really good job of, making this an open process that anybody can come into and give their input. And by the time it gets there, the hope is that it won't be a huge 4-hour ordeal to try to get it passed. Instead, it'll be something much more, um, streamlined and manageable. And if so, then that means we should have extra time if we do it well. And if we can kind of and I'm not trying to suggest we should distract
Look at
from business with
Austin with
fun
his
stuff.
rose tinted glasses.
I mean, look, if they have to show up with enough numbers to stop the bylaws from passing, if they have those numbers, then they have those numbers. That's pretty much it. It's what the meeting's for. We can always call a general membership meeting 10 days later just for fun if we want to, if it really comes down to it, right? This is not going to be a problem. But if we treat it like a fundraising event rather than like a fight, and it's going to be fun, we're going to have more better focus than arguing or trying to beat each other. For the factionalists among us, it kind of hopefully diminishes the surface for that kind of environment and instead gives something more constructive and more fun. I wonder if that would just help, and then also we would make money, right? That would be a big plus. And give us kind of a chance to do some donor outreach. And I think maybe this is maybe not like the thing I would lead with, but it might be one of the more important things that I'm learning in political work, is that being able to bond with the people that you're working with and your committee members and the people who are in the cause is just so important, and post COVID, everything's remote and online, and people are very easily divided and sometimes isolated, even, in their routines. And it's really nice to be able to get out and enjoy a fun event, with like-minded people in person, even if there's people there you don't like, even if the discussion is gamified. And I've had a lot of fun, and I think we could put on a pretty dang good show for pretty cheap. But it's kind of a cost benefit thing. I think if we put on a small show that's aimed at like a very exclusive, maybe there's a limited number of seats that we can really sell, and that's how we do it. It's exclusive, and you got to get in while there's availability, or it will run out. And that's a good pitch. That definitely, the exclusivity angle sells. We could do entire packages, and frankly, we could make really good money selling whole come to Hawaii packages. And we're basically selling a Hawaii vacation, you know, come support the Liberty movement in Hawaii and attend Hawaii's convention, blah blah blah. And I think the more that we phrase it like that, the more that it's in that vein, we're gonna find that we're not facing super crazy opposition. By the way, like if we don't fix the bylaws for some reason, like right now they make us like the supreme rulers of the party, and it would be very hard to dislodge us. or stop us or change anything, like
I wasn't really concerned about that. I was just thinking more along the lines of like the person who wants to get into the weeds and divide all the questions and all of that.
I would just make it pass fail as much as possible. Like I don't think it's going to happen if we don't let it happen. If somebody wants to divide the question, it's more like what just vote against it. They can try. And obviously if it's an order, it's an order, but um I think resisting that is just going to be the key, and making sure that the package is either voted in or it's not. I don't the bylaws are pretty cohesive, and you wouldn't want to just rip out parts of them because some of those are like it just devolve into a mess. If we need to keep working on them, we can keep working on them. And it's one reason why I'm thinking a little more time is maybe beneficial, because we could present kind of a minority report substitution to say, if for any reason the rewrite is not accepted, right, here's notice on a proposed amendment that would allow us to conduct electronic meetings, according to the executive committee's need, right? And then, if things go sideways, just that's your
Well, we
escape
already
lever.
have the electronic standing rule. I don't think that would be affected.
Yeah, I mean, it would theoretically fix the issue, which really is questionable, even if it really is an issue. But the general membership meeting is an easy way to cure just about anything with this party, by the way. It's just like right now we have a pretty like permissive system that lets us do what we want in general. Um, so, you know, it's not really broken. It's just wonky, maybe a little dated. Still a classic. But anyway, I'm not too concerned about it. Like worst case thing that can happen, the very worst thing that they could happen is if they had the numbers to try to appoint people to our vacancies on the board. Right. So if we were to appoint even one more person, that would prevent a situation where they could try to leverage one of us for a majority. Right. But the I don't think that's likely. It's probably out of order at the special meeting. But if you have enough, theoretically, it would work. But if we're doing an event and we're doing a good job with it, and it's invite only and it's exclusive and there's limited availability and all of that, that's cool. And it also kind of scopes things for us, right? And it makes sure it like if we say 30 seats are available, that's it. This is a small group session, and we're able to book somebody, maybe a couple somebodies who are sufficiently, famous enough that it's worth it, right? That, would you like to sit in a small group session with blank, right? That would be kind of how to put that together. And then we would want a room that could accommodate 30 plus another 20 or 30 in case we had high attendance, which we probably won't have that high of attendance, right? So, but that kind of situation, I think, is one where we're likely to control the room anyway, kind of no matter what. The atmosphere is in our favor. There's an event, beyond just business fights. And again, worst thing they can do is vote down the bylaws.
So as far as a date, I don't know if I'm comfortable setting one in stone through a vote until we know what the venues can do.
That's the problem. Yeah. That's why we're having the discussion rather than a motion to set. We have until the 30th to set it. Um,
Which I guess we'll just end up doing email ballot for him.
yeah, I don't want to wait until the crunch time. I'd like to, as soon as we have it kind of nailed down, let's nail it down. But again, this goes back to kind of just how we think about it. What I'll try to do is get you guys a menu of options, right? So our top 3 or top 5 most competitive offers, we will like put them together. with like a food menu and a like try to make a really easy like comparison for you guys so that when you're voting, you're basically voting on packages. Does that sound pretty sweet? Abbra, I'm coming in. All right, cool. Let me adjust volumes here. Okay, Abbra, can you mute
Oh, I
your
have my mic on.
haha. I'm unbanished.
So, put together event packages to choose from. I'm assuming we're not wanting to pull the trigger on the 23rd for non-Loa then, right?
Let's hold off on that. That's very soon. You guys, unless everybody likes the 23rd and that's what we want to do, how much was the ticket cost on that anticipated cost?
Around 4,600.
4,600 for the Mauna
We
Loa,
could probably squeeze it down a couple hundred, but not much.
and that would be on August 23rd. So right now that's the solid date that's available for what we're looking for.
The only one we could get in August, but we don't technically have to do it in August. We could just set the date in August for another time.
All right. Well, before we wrap up, this is the last thing on the agenda. Any discussion on this is obviously welcome. And yeah, once we kind of pick a cost, or sorry, not a cost, but a venue and a date and all that. Once we have that nailed down, I'll kind of look at it from a like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, how we spend on it and what we get out of it. But we can, that's not as time sensitive as getting it set. So
As far as other costs, can we move on to that one?
additional costs, yes.
I know last year we spent, I think it was 340 something on print costs, but that included all the bylaws and platform printouts plus a whole bunch of trifolds and flyers and stuff like that. I think we can probably get away. We've cut the page counts down. I think I can probably just do like 15 copies of it each, and we have most of the trifolds left. So, but the sooner I can set a budget for that, the sooner I can just print it and have it ready, and then it can come with us on the day of.
Do you think we have enough t-shirts for people who haven't received t-shirts from the previous convention?
Probably. But they're all like large and extra large, I think.
Okay. I'm sure it should be fine. Like I don't need another shirt, for instance, but
I will be doing a little division of labor chart or something so that there's a couple of defined responsibilities we can each elect for, or self-select rather. Because it'll be nice to get some help with planning this. Definitely have been quite busy personally, so I'm sure I could, handle it if I absolutely had to. But the reality is, anybody who can help with some of the event planning burden on this is a hero, and we love you a very long time.
also I was thinking just a thought for speakers or just special guest. Given the time frame and also maybe proximity, what could be feasible. I don't know about realistic, but could be interesting to maybe discuss. So while we were talking, I was looking up maybe not necessarily like big L libertarian, but small L or libertarian adjacent people living in Hawaii who are unknown. There could be like Woody Harrelson on Kauai or Maui, Willie Nelson, Jack Johnson, Laird Hamilton, Roseanne
Yes.
Barr.
We need people, yeah, and they don't have to be big L libertarians. No, they absolutely they have to be people that can help unlock voting blocks. That would be really great. VIPs, people that are like, I think this is self-evident. I don't know how much of the reasoning on this that I would need to explain here. I think you guys get it. You know, we want to be accessible and everything, but then it's totally fine for us to do something that kind of cultivates an image. We have quite literally become the elite affiliate, you know, and we could do some really fun stuff to kind of lean into that. Um, and, you know, continue to really like take a leadership role. Coalitioning with people who are, you know, not necessarily big L libertarians and inviting them to events to come speak and, you know, interact with us is smart. It's also an opportunity for us to invite Hawaii politicians who might care about reaching out to our voters, right? So doing the AV system well and then framing it as a very exclusive event is helpful. It helps us so we don't have to gather a huge in-person crowd, for one thing. We have a very large social media presence on Facebook with a significant reach, right? And that allows us a format to be able to share this content out and gives us kind of, so we're not just, you know, bluffing, but we have also, you know, real constraints on how many of us can gather at one point at a time, you know, and on that kind of organization. And then on top of that, like the funding and all of that, it's just smart. If we do it like this, it's smart, streamlined. Get everybody into a relatively cozy small venue, bill it as for exclusivity, and you know, size the event appropriately for the number that we're expecting to show up, plus the number that we think that we can attract for whatever events that we want to do. And again, I'm just kind of shooting from the hip and sharing my thoughts candidly with you guys. So you know, feel free to pipe in and share anything that you want about this. But I feel like we've pretty much got that horse dead on the ground. But yeah, the additional costs. We also mentioned flowers and stuff. I'd love flowers. And then, you know, the picture window. I'm just kidding. Yeah.
It's like a rental suggestion, or what was that?
Celina, how much are the flowers?
My flowers, I would just bring whatever I have.
Ooh.
Just make some like maybe ornaments, or if you needed like monstera leaves to like maybe place around the
That's
edges
really
of.
cool. If we could come up with anything to go on the podium, that would be awesome because we're not allowed to put tape or tacks or anything on it.
Yeah, okay. So like
What if we
flowers,
had like a
market
poster
price.
board that leaned against it and like things were like attached to the poster board or something?
That's clever. That's clever.
They just don't want any holes or.
That's clever.
Because we could even like hot glue like monstera on poster board and just kind of have it leaning against it, or you know, just.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Breaking the law. Okay, so I like it. I like it a lot. I love the idea of doing like a like Liberty candidate like leadership summit or something that is kind of a hoorah. And if we know that we have a few good donors that we can get in the room, which I actually do know a couple of good donors that are Liberty aligned, or at least somewhat, not somewhat, I'd say, you know, generally Liberty aligned. And, you know, if we can get them into an event, we can also invite some other people who politically might benefit from an opportunity, you know. So, and that would be like actual either sitting politicians or candidates or whatever. And we'd want to kind of, give them a forum for that. That would be a great way to generate a little bit more buzz and just a little bit more political cultivation. But I would just recommend that if the more that we get a field of non-libertarian such, we should separate that from our business portion.
We should avoid the first weekend in September because that's the grassroots gala.
Grassroots gala, first weekend in September. Noted. So noted. Technically, guys, again, as I said, and we technically have the ability to throw a pretty quick, according to our bylaws, convention, and it can be done pretty informally. Yeah. So like, yeah, we can just deal with that when should we need to, but like, I really like this idea of doing, kind of invite events. I kind of feel like there's a room for the party to make some good money doing that. Some really great fundraising opportunities that can be tied up with event packages that, come out to Hawaii, 2-day stay, facilitated by, but unfortunately, I don't think I could start a consulting company to do that without having to notify you all on paper and tell you all that I'm interested in this. I'm just kidding. You guys want to start a company?
I'm gonna motion to adjourn.
That's probably wise.
A second.
Man, here I was building up to motion to start a company, but now we got it. Any objection to adjournment? All right, hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. All right.
Still recording?
I am here. I can stop while we convene the secret councils. Just kidding.